congratulations on an absolutely brilliant film. Very, very funny.
Thank you.
Even if it's a black comedy. So it's your 8th feature film. Why was it that you wanted to tell this particular story?
I really wanted to take a light look at some really difficult subjects, and to make something that was fast and funny and minimal, didn't waste people's time, and brought together brilliant actors into one room to go deep rather than wide.
And you have an absolutely incredible cast at your fingertips there, particularly some legendary actresses. What was it like working with this cast?
They were a really brilliant cast to work with. They're all very collaborative and very risk-taking individuals who want to work not just with their faces and with lines, but with their whole body, with a complete sort of passion. They really dived into the story and into their characters, and it was a true ensemble. Everyone was there all the time on set, and we had to move really fast because it was a 2-week shoot. So that's fast.
And did you have these particular actors in mind when you were developing the characters, or is it something that came afterward?
I try not to have individual actors in mind when I'm writing, very rarely, but because otherwise you can get fixated on somebody, and then even what you know about the actor can start to influence the character, whereas the character has to, in some strange way, emerge and start speaking to you as a writer in solitude. So you have to go into a state of kind of deep listening, really, to who these people are. Once written, however, and then inviting actors to, so to speak, join the party, that's something else. Then they embody, they take the character onto another level, they bring their own qualities to bear on what's written. And that's a very, very exciting process for a writer, and of course for a writer-director.
And it's, in a very particular style. It's sort of this crisp black and white, just 71 minutes, and sort of this farce starts to unfold slowly. What were you trying to achieve with the way that you filmed it?
Well, I worked with Alexei Rodionov, the Russian cinematographer, and this was our third collaboration, the first having been Orlando many years ago. And he has a very particular eye. He's a kind of truth teller cinematically, so he's never looking for an, in quotes, lovely image or a particular style or anything. It's always about where does the camera need to be to find the truth of this scene, or something, some nuance in the face of this actor, So he calls it searching, and we're always searching, he and I together, for where and how to shoot it. And the choice to shoot in black and white was part of that, because it's a very graphic image. It's very extreme. The shadows are darker, the lights are brighter, and all the shades of grey in between. So it can really push in a way, the contradictions of the character and the story as far as they can go.
And this stripped-back style, I think, means that the dialogue becomes even more crucial, and it seems to rest on this sort of razor-sharp wit and comic timing that runs through it. How did you work with trying to create this comedy in the film?
I wrote it alone in a room for as long as it took, but it was like listening to my own inner audience, I suppose. And in a funny way, while I was writing it, I was kind of letting myself go, letting myself be wicked. And that was very, very enjoyable and felt quite daring. I mean, some of the characters say things that mostly people think but don't say. It's quite close to the edge, and sometimes I would say over the edge of what's sayable and so on. But I also wanted to create dialogue that the actors could really get their teeth into, that was sort of sensual and fast and multi-layered, and one hoped funny, but you never know till you see it with an audience for the first time whether that's really working. Although that is me and the actors, we were laughing so much in between takes, and while we were preparing, we thought it was funny, and just hoped that the audience did. And fortunately, they do seem to. And
one of the central parts of the storyline, Kristen Scott Thomas's character has been appointed as Shadow Health Minister, and there are sort of lots of comments made about parliamentary democracy. How far do you see this as a political play? I know Brexit was unfolding as you were filming. You know, how much does this have a political message?
There's no message, but it is a political comedy. It's more like a laying out of the land. Here are the way that we relate to each other. These are the divisions. These are the ideals. What's been happening, and how it's all unfolding. So it's political observational comedy, perhaps, definitely rather than message. But what each character is trying to do is tell the truth, not just to themselves, but to each other. And that's their struggle, and that's where they're falling down.
And you were saying about the reception, people finding it funny. How has the reception been so far, and what do you think is unique about showing this film here in London as a British filmmaker?
Well, the reception's been brilliant, much better than my wildest hopes and dreams, actually. And the first sort of proper sign of that, despite some test screenings in London before, was in the 3,000-seater at the Berlin Film Festival in February, and to hear it kind of shaking with laughter, an international audience was like, let's say, a good sign. You always think, oh my God, was it a fluke? How's it going to go the next time? But subsequently, I've travelled with it in the German-speaking territories, in France, in Denmark, just a few days ago. And the reception seems to be so far near universal, which means that the comedy is universal, even though the storyline is specific, the setting is specific to this country. Now, to show a film like this that is so much, let's say, a loving but somewhat savage portrait of some aspects of life in the UK at the moment, to show that on home turf is very special and quite scary. But let's see how it goes.
And lastly, there's been a lot in the media over recent years about diversity, both in front and behind the camera, and particularly roles, I think, for actresses as they get, later in their career. How do you see diversity in the film industry at the moment?
The more stories that are told from more points of view and with a broader, more representative, not in the parliamentary sense of that word, because it's not a democratic medium, it's a storytelling medium, but it's the richer for having people at different stages in their life and from different backgrounds fully represented in the most nuanced and subtle and intelligent way. But when I'm doing it, I don't think, shall I have a part now for an older woman or something like that? I'm just thinking, who's interesting? What's interesting? What are the struggles that are interesting? And to show women who have lived a bit, let's say, means they have both more experience, more wounds, and more complexity in them. So do younger women too, I have to say immediately. But let's put it this way, all ages are interesting. There's not just one window at which a person, whether male or female or from any cultural background, is interesting. All stages of life are interesting and worthy subjects.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for your time, and congratulations again on a brilliant film.
Thank you.